Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Tabs and I am the maker and creator behind Safari Stitches. This is my CEO, Rosie. Do you have anything to say? A little bit of a tail wag? Yeah? It's super windy outside, so I just wanted to come on here. I think it's about to storm here in the next hour or so, and I think we're getting all of the wind and the front of the storm. It's very windy. Anyways, I wanted to come on because I have such a fun series of videos and I just could not wait to get started on them. But if you've watched the last few videos, you know that I'm doing the A to Z crochet challenge. And originally I was planning on just picking an animal, making that animal, and moving on and doing it in a series of 2 or 3 videos just to get, because 26 animals or 26 patterns in one video is a lot to cover. And I decided I wanted to do my own little twist on the A to Z challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle these videos in. So I don't know when this video is going up or what the deal is. I don't know if this is going to be the first one that gets released on a Monday during my normally scheduled video time, or if this is going to be sprinkled in between. It's just, I'm still sticking to the Monday release, so there will be a Monday video every single week, but there might be a bonus video or 2 each week as I work my way through this challenge. But my own little twist is I'm going to dedicate every video to one single solitary letter of the alphabet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick an animal and I'm going to find 2 or 3 different patterns to make for that specific animal. I'm going to physically make all of the patterns that I find, whether it's free or paid, and I will tell you if the pattern was given to me or not, but you can, if I don't mention it, it's either going to be a free pattern that I find or it's going to be a paid pattern that I pay my own money for. And I'm going to make them all, and I'm going to show you guys the finished makes for that specific animal, and then I'm going to rate those patterns based on a few different criteria. The first bit of criteria, which is probably one of the most important ones for me, is how easy the pattern is to follow. Is it clear? Is it written well? Are there typos? Are there plenty of photos? If there's difficult steps in the pattern, is there a detailed description? Are there any special stitches, and are they spelled out, basically told how to make the special stitches, things along those lines. And I'm just going to do it 1 to 5, I think. The next criteria I'm going to rank it on from 1 to 5 is if it's a very market-friendly pattern. So 1 will be not market-friendly at all, 5 will be super market-friendly, meaning it doesn't take very long, it's super easy, and you can just make a bunch in one sitting and market prep it in bulk. The next thing that I will share for each pattern is my personal opinion on the pattern, whether or not I will be making it again. So this is not necessarily a ranking from 1 to 5. If I like the pattern, if just anything generally about the pattern that I have feelings about, I'm going to share. So after I give you my opinion on the pattern, I will do an overall ranking from 0 to 5 of whether or not I will recommend the pattern. I will link every single pattern that I make below, along with, if the designer has an Instagram, I will also share their Instagram account below as well in the description, so you can go and find them and give them some support, whether or not I like the pattern, because again, all of this is my opinion, so if I don't like it, it doesn't mean that you won't like the pattern or it won't work for you. Or if I love the pattern, you may hate the pattern when you buy it. So it's all a matter of opinion. So keep that in mind when you watch these videos, but I will be linking absolutely everything below. And I will also preface this by saying that any pattern links that are shared in the description are affiliate links. So when you do make a purchase using those links, I do get a small commission at no extra cost to you and at no cost to the designer either. Even though they're Etsy links, I actually get the commission paid from Etsy, not from the designer, so they still get their full payout. With that said, today's letter for this video is the letter A. I feel like I'm on Sesame Street. A is for armadillo. That is the animal that I decided to go with, and I found, I believe, 3 patterns. Yes, I found 3 patterns of armadillos, and I will tell you right now, I've only made one so far, and I'm very inspired to write my own armadillo pattern, and I have like an idea in my brain of how I want to write the armadillo pattern, and it's very different from the 3 that I'm making. So I'm really excited about it. I feel inspired. So I'm really excited about this challenge. So with that said, let me give you some details about this first pattern that I purchased myself. I did spend my own money on this pattern. So the first armadillo pattern that I will be making is called Armadillin, the Armadillo by Idle Hands Fiber on Etsy. The pattern was $3.89. The yarn that I chose to use for this pattern, I chose to use Elise Veludo, and I used the colors 530, which is kind of like a darkish gray brown, and the color 599, which is kind of like a beigey, I want to say they call this one ivory. I can't remember what they were both called, but those are the 2 colors that I used. There is an option to do a striped armor on the back. I opted not to do that, and I'm very glad that I didn't, and I will explain why as we get into the pattern. So, with that said, let me do the big reveal. Drum roll, please. This is Dylan, or Armadillin, the Armadillo. He is massive. Absolutely massive. For the cost of the pattern, the value of the size of the finished item is insane. Based on value alone, the pattern is worth the $3.89. So there's my first tidbit of my review. Now, let me give you some more statistics about this guy while I'm holding him. So for the main body color, which is the lighter tannish, lightish color, I used 296 grams of yarn, which is a lot. That is, I believe, Elise Veludo comes in 100 gram skeins. So that's 3 skeins of the main body color if you're using Elise Veludo, which is a lot of yarn. And then for the back armor piece, I used 150 grams. So 1.5 skeins of the back color. Obviously that will change if you opt to do the striped back on this guy. The darker color is also used on the little toenails down here. So that's the statistics. Now, the part that is probably going to make your jaw hit the floor is the time that it took me to make this guy. I timed every single second that I worked on this pattern from start to finish. It took me 3 hours, 56 minutes, and 23 seconds. So basically 4 hours worth of work to make this guy. Keep that in mind. Okay, so the way this pattern is basically full sewing, every single piece is sewed on. You make the body first, and the body and the tail are all one piece. Then you make the head, the ears, the arms, and the armor all separately, and then you assemble it. It does give you like an order of assembly in the pattern itself, so you can at least follow that to make sure it looks somewhat correct. So the first ranking, was it easy to follow? The pattern is well written. It is very easy to follow. There's descriptions for most things. There was for the back portion here where it kind of like humps up. There is some modifications to the pattern. It was a linked half double crochet and a linked double crochet. If you read the notes in the pattern, they are optional to do. So I did not do those because there's no description in the pattern, and I didn't really want to go watch YouTube videos on how to do linked stitches like that. I've never done it before. It's something that I made a note of to look up at a later point in time. But for the sake of this pattern, I just wanted to crochet it and keep working on it versus pausing it to go look at a new method of crocheting and learn how to do that for this pattern. So I will tell you that I did not do that part, but the pattern notes did say that they are optional. It gives it a cleaner look. I mean, I personally think that it looks fine not doing linked stitches. I actually, and I don't know if the pattern photos show the linked half double crochet. I didn't really notice a difference, honestly, in my finished look versus her finished look. So I don't really know. You can make the decision if it's worth it for you to learn that new technique. Other than that, there's lots of pictures. It's super easy to follow. Everything is labeled clearly. I didn't notice any typos or stitch counts that were off. The layout of the pattern is really nice. I will say that I had problems. This guy has a janky back corner, and I'll show you this right here. I did my best to tack it down a little bit, but it does look a little bit special because I think you work from, you work from here to here, and by the time I got to here, the way the shape is, it kind of has like a cutout in it, and you line up both corners and sew it closed across the top. And when I did that, nothing else lined up. So obviously my tension or the yarn I used caused some of my stitches to go off center a little bit, and it just kind of made it a little bit wonky, and that's how I got this weird spot here. This is actually supposed to be the back corner, but because of the way it had to be folded to fit around the head and around the neck right here, it didn't match up. And to be completely honest with you, I couldn't be bothered to frog back and try to figure out where I went wrong and adjust my stitches accordingly. This took forever. This piece of armor, because it's double layered, you're working in the round. So it just took so incredibly long. I did not want to go back and rework it. It was just not worth it to me. So I'm probably going to come in here and add a couple extra little tack stitches just to kind of smooth out this lumpy bit a little bit and just make it look a little bit cleaner. But for now, we're going to look at his good side while I talk about him. So aside from that, and there's no instructions in the pattern, oh, make sure your stitches line up along this, because you're doing a bunch of increases and decreases, and I believe they're supposed to stack. And I think mine, like I said, got off-centered. So if you do make this pattern, just keep that in mind, as you work your way to the bottom piece where you're sewing it closed, just make sure your stitches are stacking so that it folds correctly, because mine did not. But I mean, you can kind of see it's definitely off. So hopefully they don't really care that it's like that. Like I said, I'm going to come through here and I'm going to tack some of this down a little bit better just to make it look a little bit smoother. And I think it'll be fine after I do that and clean it up a little bit. But I just wanted to point that part out. The stitches on the tail portion, he is also a little bit wonky on the tail. It's kind of curving one direction, but again, I think it's just based on the tension and the yarn I used is giving it the funny, a funny curl to it. So that's something else to keep in mind. I don't really like to do long pieces that have increases and decreases strategically placed throughout, because I do feel because you start at the front of the body, and by the time you get to the back, your tension, if you have even remotely different tension from the designer of the pattern, it just slowly shifts as the further you get away from your starting point. So by the end, it's just way off. And again, I just didn't really want to go through the process of trying to figure out the adjustments that I needed to make to correct that. So, and I think it looks fine. It's not a big deal. The sewing took forever, but I'm pleased with the size that it came out. I feel like the size is worth the level of effort. Now, 4 hours is a long time. I think the shell alone took an hour. which is crazy. So again, I would give this probably a 4 out of 5 stars as far as, is the pattern easy to follow? Is it clearly written? Any mistakes, etc., etc.? I'd give it a 4 out of 5. And the only reason I docked the star was because of the difference in tension, and there's not really any notes that I noticed. Yeah, there's nothing in the pattern about adjusting to make them stack. So maybe they're not supposed to, I'm not really sure, but no matter what way I folded this thing, it would not lay correctly. So I just kind of finished it how I felt. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm pretty sure I sewed the shell on backwards. But I like the way that this looks better, to be completely honest with you. So anyways, aside from that little tidbit, everything was fine. Again, easy to follow. There was a lot of instructions. Assembly photos were included. I will say I did not stitch the ears so that they were standing up. I just kind of let them fall where they were. I just thought it was a little bit cuter. Even though armadillos do tend to have pointier ears, and in the pattern photos the ears are standing up a little bit more, so I might come back in and tack them so that they stand up a little bit more, but for right now I'm happy with the way this looks. So again, easy to follow, 4 out of 5. Market friendly, obviously a 1 out of 5. This is not a market friendly pattern. This is kind of a showstopper piece. It's going to be one of your higher priced items because of how long it takes and how much in supplies that it takes. And my personal opinion, I don't think I will be making this unless it absolutely flies off the like if it's one of the first few things to go at my next market. I don't really see myself making this one again, just because it is very labor intensive, and I feel like an armadillo is a very niche animal, and you're gonna have people coming through that absolutely love and are obsessed with armadillos. So I do think this will sell eventually, but I think I'm going to be stuck with it for a while. They may prove me wrong. I may be totally wrong, and it may sell straight off the bat, and then I will be making another one. But as of right now, I don't think I will be making another one just because of how labor intensive it is. So let's see. The cost, let me pull up my pricing spreadsheet, and I will tell you how much I will be pricing this for. And I use the calculator from Cameron's Cute Creations. Okay, so cost of materials. So I used Elisa the Ludo. If I paid full price for it, that's $7 a skein. And I used 4.5 skeins of yarn. So we're looking at $31.50 of yarn used. $1.67 of fiber fill, and then safety eyes. I just put in 25 cents for safety eyes. I used 18mm just solid black. I just got them from Amazon. I'm sure they're way cheaper than 25 cents, but I don't really want to go and look that up right now. So if I pay myself $18 an hour and it took me 4 hours to make, that's $72. So I would have to price this guy at $150, which is like mind-boggling. So if I change this, because I don't ever buy Elise Veludo at full price, and I believe right now it's on sale for $3.95, and I usually do get free shipping. So let's just put $4 in for that. So that brings us down to $19.92 in cost of yarn. That would still be $129 to make it worth it. If I don't do a single markup, it would be $92, which I don't see this selling for $92. So the fact that it took that long, I mean, I could bump my hourly wage down because it was fairly straightforward to $15 an hour. That's still $60 in hourly wage. So it's still $80. But I'm leaning, I think based on just looking at it, I do think I'm going to charge $60 for this, I believe. was the price that I was coming, which is like severely underselling myself. But now that I've run that calculation, I can pretty much guarantee I'm probably not going to make this again. It just takes entirely too much yarn. I think if the armor wasn't done the way that it is, I don't think it would be as bad and it wouldn't take nearly as long. I think overall I would give this pattern maybe a 3 out of 5. 2.5 out of 5. I think I would give this pattern. I'm just not super crazy about it. Hopefully somebody loves it and will pay $60 for it, but I don't really see myself getting much more out of this item. Nothing against the designer at all. I looked through her shop. She has some really, really cute patterns. This one is not for me. This one is not for me, so I will not be making this one again. So next time you see me, I will have made another armadillo, and I will give you guys my review of that one. But that's how we started. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm in love. I'm obsessed. This is number 2 on the Armadillo extravaganza, if you will. I purchased another Armadillo pattern with my own money. Yay me. So this is number 2. This is Willow the Armadillo by Beachy Loops. I will, of course, link the pattern below, and I will link the Instagram below for the designer, so you can go show them some love. I paid $7.78 total for this pattern. I think I had it added to my shopping cart like a couple of days ago, and I got one of those like, hey, don't forget your shopping cart deal things sent to me. It was a 10% off coupon. So I applied that to my cart, and obviously this also does include sales tax for me. I'm in the state of Alabama, so we do have sales tax. I know there are some states that don't get sales tax. I should have mentioned that in the first clip for this series, but I did not. So the prices that I list do include sales tax. It's like my total order cost. So $7.78. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you right off the bat the finished product. I have not embroidered the nose, and I haven't embroidered the eyes yet on this guy, but are you joking me? Are you joking? Look at the little feet, the little head. Look at the ears. The color work, I'll get into some details here. So the pattern, in my personal opinion, the pattern is kind of a low sew. It's like borderline low sew and just regular sewing. You only have to sew on the 4 feet. That's really it. And then there's a little bit of finishing work for the ears. That's really it. It's not too terribly difficult. They're kind of small to sew on to a large surface, so it was a little bit awkward, but overall, I would personally say that this is a fairly low sew pattern. Everything else is crocheted either into or onto the pieces. So let me give you some statistics here to tell you the general idea of the pattern. There's 3 colors used. Well, I opted to use 3 colors. I did a cream for the face, a dark tan for the body, and then a kind of like you can kind of see the difference, a very, very light tan for the belly and the feet. The feet were supposed to be done in the main color to match the armored shell on the back, but I was running really low on this color, and I didn't want to get through. I think I would have had enough to make all 4, but I didn't want to get to the 3rd foot and run out of yarn and have to make them all over again. So we didn't do that. So I just made them out of the belly color, but the feet are supposed to be made out of the main body color. And I'll give you some details. So the dark tan color, which I used for the ears, the head, and the armored back through the tail, I used 121 grams of that color. The light tan for the belly and the 4 feet, I used 36 grams of that color. And then the cream on the face, I used 7 grams. I opted to do the snuggler version, so the body is not stuffed. You can make a version that is stuffed, which I'm obsessed with. It's kind of like a hybrid pattern, which is really cool. And I think this would be so stinking cute stuffed. Like, can you imagine? How cute would that be stuffed? So the only polyfill I use is in the head, and I used 6 grams of the polyfill in the head. And obviously I'll have a little bit of cotton yarn used for the nose detail and the embroidered eyes, but that's it. So with that said, let me just give you some details about the pattern. Straight off the bat, you start making the ears first. I love the construction of the ears and how they're folded and crocheted in. I've never seen ears done like that before, and I really like this technique a lot. So that was the first thing about this pattern. The second thing, the color work does not quite, like the color work is ever so slightly. I think I needed to adjust the placement of the ears ever so slightly. Sorry, my computer just went to sleep. Let me wake it back up so there's a little bit better lighting. Okay, there we go. But it's really not that noticeable. Honestly, just looking directly from the front, it's a little bit kind of tilted, but I feel like it gives it a little bit of character. It's handmade, right? We can't be perfect. So there's the head, and then you surface crochet to start the body, and you do a really fun technique. I have done this technique before. If it was slightly different, I think, if you've ever made Hugo the Humpback Whale, it's a very similar technique, slightly different, to make these ridges, but there are 2 different versions of this armored body. There's one that has the ridges a little bit more spaced out, but there's the same number of ridges, or you can do the version that I have where all 8 ridges are basically on top of each other, which I like this look. I might make another one at some point with the spaced out ridges just to compare. This is a very tedious process, a labor of love, if you will, but it's so worth it. I really like the effect it definitely gives Armadillo. So I really like, this is the one thing, I think if I had done the stripes on the first pattern I did in the armored back, I think it would have looked a little bit more Armadillo-esque, whereas I just did the solid color, so I feel like that's kind of where I went wrong with that one a little bit for like color wise. But I really like the ridged effect on this. I would almost be tempted to literally do this for a few more rounds, like to start a little bit sooner and work the ridges all the way down. I think that would look really, really cool. It would obviously use up a lot more yarn, but can you imagine an entire back that looks like this? And then you crochet the tail, and then you crochet the belly into, like starting here, you work all the way down. I will say I got a little bit lost in the pattern when I was working the belly. Hold on, let me just look really quick so I can make sure I'm not misspeaking. So there's only 2 pictures for the belly technique, and I do feel like the belly technique is a very unique thing. I've only done it one other time, and it was for a wearable. It was for Shop Mod Threads cardigan pattern, the first one she came out with, I don't remember the name of the pattern off the top of my head, but her cardigan pattern did a similar technique for creating the front panels. So I had done this before, but I feel like if you had never done this technique before, it might be a little bit tricky to figure out as far as how you join, because you're working the belly back and forth in rows, and then you're attaching it to the body as you go. I don't want to give too much away because pattern propriety and all that kind of stuff, but so it is a little bit more unique. So I do highly recommend, and she does say this at the beginning of the pattern, to read the entire pattern the whole way through for the version that you're making, whether it's the snuggler, whether it's the spaced out ridges or the squash ridges like I made. Whichever version you decide to make, read through the entire pattern before you get started, just so you can kind of familiarize yourself. Um, Overall, very, 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 very happy with this pattern. I thought the pattern was super duper easy to follow. It's very clear what you're supposed to be doing. The only part, like I said, that I got a little bit tripped up on was the belly, but that was mostly because my rows, the number of rows that I should have been at a certain point did not match up to the pattern. So I did have to modify how many rows I did in the belly, which is totally fine. It wasn't like, it's very, very easy. It's not difficult as far as like the changes that I had to make. I just had to add a couple of extra rows in the middle here just to make it match up a little bit better. So it was completely fine. Not a big deal at all. He's a great size. I feel like this is the size that I have been aiming for when it comes to snuggler items. Just to compare it to, this is a little bit long, like if you include the tail, this is a little bit longer than my fox snuggler. Hold on. So I know you guys have probably had enough of hearing about this fox pattern, but it is ever so slightly longer just because of the tail, but this is literally the size that I've been going for. I did use a 7mm hook for the entire thing, except for the ears. The ears, you do size down a size just for some more structure on the ears, but the rest of it, I was supposed to size up to an 8mm for the body and the belly, and I opted not to do that because I wanted it to be a little bit smaller, and I feel like the 8 would have made it quite a good deal longer, and I didn't want it to come out that big. So I just used a 7mm, and I think it turned out just fine. I did use one of the old formula. I guess it's not really old formula. It's like the Made in China formula that's a little bit stiffer. So it's holding its shape quite a lot, which I actually really, really like. Now, I feel like if I were to use something like Elise Veludo, it would definitely be a lot more like floppy and have a lot less structure to it. So again, super curious as to how that would look if I were to make this pattern again using Elise Veludo. Timing wise, this guy took me 2 hours, 1 minute, and 20 seconds to finish. Obviously not including embroidering the nose or the eyes, so probably an extra like 5 minutes there. But I just embroider my eyes all in one go, so it goes fairly quickly. So I don't typically count that in the creation time of the item. So based on that time, I would need to charge at least $60 to kind of make this piece worth it, which I do think that the level of detail in this pattern could garner that high of a price. I think if I made this again, it would probably go a lot quicker because I'm a little bit more familiar. I think I could get, oh my goodness, stop going to sleep, please. I think I could make this in 1.5 to maybe 1 hour, 45 minutes and get that time cut down to get back to my ballpark of like $45 to $50 for this size of snuggler. That's kind of what I've been aiming for. So I think that's very doable now that I've done the pattern at least one time. But for 2 hours of work and the amount of materials that I use, I need to charge around $60 to make it worth it at this current state. Is this market friendly? I would say no, based on the standard that market friendly to me would be like an hour-long make that you can kind of make multiples, blah, 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 an hour-ish or under. I mean, obviously you've got your half-hour makes that are super market friendly, but to me, like, market friendly is an easy pattern. It's relatively low sew. It's very easy to follow. It's kind of mindless. This is not necessarily mindless because you're going back and forth in rows and you have to make sure your stitch count is correct. So it was a little bit like counting intensive. So if you have family that likes to say, hey, I need you, I need this, where's this? Like, what, you know what I'm talking about because I deal with it on the daily. then this pattern might take you a little bit longer to make. But aside from that, I would probably, let's see, easy to follow. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars simply because of the issue that I had with the belly and the technique that's used. It's not really overly illustrated to like in the pattern itself as far as the technique used, so it could take a little bit of time for you to figure that out. But other than that, it's so straightforward, super easy, very well written, it's laid out, it's clean, it's polished, it's great. Again, market friendly. I would give this maybe a 3 out of 5 stars just because it is a little bit of a longer pattern. It makes a little bit of a bigger item. So this is going to be like your mid to mid top tier priced item potentially, depending on your pricing buckets that you aim for. So yeah, a 3 out of 5 as far as market friendly. My opinion as a whole, I love this pattern. I think this is the cutest thing. We have armadillos here. We don't see them very frequently, and most of the time they are no longer with us when we do see them. That's terrible, but I do feel like they tend to run in front of vehicles quite frequently here, and I'm sure if you have armadillos, I don't think they can see very well, if I remember correctly. I feel like they are largely blind. I don't know. I could be speaking out of my you-know-what. But I do think this is one of those, like, niche animals that's going to take somebody coming along that loves armadillos to grab this guy. But like I said, I love this pattern. I love the construction. I love that it is fairly low-sew for the majority of it. And it's super cute, and it comes out a really great size, and I really want to make another one and make it stuffed and just see how that turns out. I mean, it's literally the exact same thing except with stuffing, since I didn't change my hook size for the snuggler. So I would love to make another one at some point. I might just tack it on to the end of my monumental Mount Everest market prep list and just kind of go from there. But I think overall, I'm going to give this pattern a 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason I'm docking points, or 1 star, is because of the technique used here not necessarily being illustrated very well. I only knew how to do it because I had done it previously, as I said, and obviously it's not necessarily a market-friendly pattern. But aside from and then I guess like the adjusting of the ears potentially, because I feel like the color changes kind of sit like this, and as you can tell, the ears are a little bit crooked when it's sitting like that. And we're in the dark. So overall, I love this pattern. I am very excited to add this one into my rotation. I really hope that I have some armadillo lovers that come to my upcoming fall markets, because it's so cute. That is everything for this pattern. I have one more pattern to share with you guys, and of course you guys have to wait for a couple of seconds to hear what pattern is next, because that's how long it's going to be for you. But for me, it's probably going to be a couple of days because it is already 8 o'clock. I need to chug a bottle of water because I have not had my full intake of water for today, and I need to just kind of wind down and relax for the rest of the evening. But I wanted to get on here really quick and show you guys as soon as I finished it, because he came out so cute. I love him. So this is, like I said, Willow the Armadillo by Beachy Loops. It is an $8 pattern, and it is on Etsy. I will link it below so you guys can grab yourself a copy if you want to make one too. Okay, I'll see you guys in a few seconds. Hi friends, I'm back. Bit of a different setting because I've been working on my couch, watching and catching up on some YouTube. I am almost 2 weeks behind on my YouTube watching. So if I'm popping into your comments 2 weeks after your video has been posted, I'm sorry. It has been so busy. I didn't watch anything while we were in Maine, and then this past week has been a little bit hectic with work and stuff going on in the background. So I'm finally sitting down and catching up. So right now I'm watching Granny by Nature. I'm getting caught up. Anyways, I have officially finished the third and final armadillo pattern that I have picked for this video, and I'm really excited about it. I'm pretty happy with how it came out, and I'm excited to kind of share my thoughts on it. So the last pattern that I chose for this letter A for the armadillo is the Armadillo Family pattern by Hooks and Healers. I paid $4.59 for it. I believe she's currently running a sale on it. It was like 15% off from the normal price, and then obviously add tax and all that fun stuff. So that is the pattern that I went with. I will say there's not very many armadillo patterns out there, and quite frankly, I can see why. But this is the big armadillo. I opted to make the larger one because it was going to be hopefully similar in size to the other two that I made. There is a like baby armadillo option that I think I do want to try to make just to see what it looks like. But here is the finished armadillo. Everything is crocheted in except for the ears, and you sew on the back shell. That's the only sewing that occurs for this pattern. The legs and the tail are all crocheted into the body. The head moves into the body. Obviously, I have not embroidered a little nose on this guy yet. That's coming. So let me give you some statistics here while I awkwardly hold him in front of the camera. There we go, kind of. Okay, here we go. Y'all can admire him. I used Premier Basics chenille in Steel Cut Oats is the main body. I couldn't remember if I used Steel Cut Oats or sand because they're very, very similar in color, which is frustrating. And then chocolate for the back. And I used a total of 161 grams of the main body color and 113 grams of the chocolate for the shell. The shell was very, very tedious with all of these bobble stitches. So when I looked at this pattern, I was originally thinking that it wouldn't take as long as the others, but I believe this is in the middle. I mean, I say it's in the middle. It's close in time to the snuggler that I just showed you before this clip, but it was way faster than the first one that I showed you. But this took me 2 hours and 15 minutes and 5 seconds to finish, which is quite a long time for a pattern. The other thing that I calculated for this one, I don't think I did it on the other ones, but I used 89 grams of stuffing, which I feel like stuffing is so subjective because some people like to stuff them really firm, some people like to stuff them soft, so I haven't really been mentioning that, but so based on those statistics and according to my calculator, I would have to charge $77 at the current rates and markups that I typically use for like a more, I guess, detailed pattern, which I think in the right location, this could garner above $70 for the right person. But when I was making it and after I had finished it, before I even ran it through the calculator, I was thinking $60 because it is a really big item, and even though it was largely low sew, I will say, I do think a lot of why it took me more than 2 hours to do this was because the Steel Cut Oats, the first skein that I used, was the really crunchy, gross, nasty not very nice yarn. It feels fine now that I've like crocheted with it, but it was not sliding very well. It was just one of their really bad quality ones. But when I grabbed a new skein, this was so soft. Like this one, I guess I must have ordered, like the first skein was probably like an old batch that I've just kind of had laying around. And now I have a bunch of the new, like the softer formula that they fixed now. So I'm thinking that I could probably get this under 2 hours just based on the freaking yarn. Because this yarn was awful to work with. The chocolate was great. Super easy. The chocolate's a lot thicker though than the steel cut oats. Not really sure why. It just felt a lot denser. So I did end up going from I believe the pattern, hold on. Yeah. Okay. So the bobble stitch in the pattern that is called for is actually a 5 double crochet bobble stitch, or basically you have 6 loops on your hook before you yarn over and finish the bobble stitch. I actually removed one of the double crochets just to make it a little bit easier on me because it's such a bulky, I don't know what it was, but this just was so much bulkier than the steel cut oats. And I honestly it didn't affect the finished look at all, in my personal opinion. She uses, I believe, Parfait Chunky in the pattern when she makes it, and it looks really, really cute. But it's so small, I just don't think I could get the right price for it based on the effort that it takes. So, with that said, let me give you guys, okay, the pattern was so easy to follow. I mean, from start to finish, I didn't have any trouble whatsoever with the instructions. I didn't have an issue with the formatting. I didn't notice any typos or errors. Everything was very well written, and it was nice and spaced out too. Like everything wasn't just like crammed onto the pages. I don't know. I've had a couple of patterns where it's just like so much to look at that sometimes it's overwhelming, and this was definitely not at all. It was extremely easy to follow. So I'm going to give that a 5 out of 5 stars on this one. It was just a very, very, very well written pattern. Market friendly, I would say no. That probably gets like a 3 out of 5 for me on market friendly. It was really easy, and obviously it's on the low sew side of patterns, but because it takes more than 2 hours, honestly anything over an hour to me, I think I mentioned this already, is not really market friendly, just because you can't, I mean, I would not make another one. I would not make 2 of these in one day. That's just not something that I'm interested in, just because it takes so long. And the shell is a little bit tedious. Like by the end I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, just because it's just so repetitive, which can be really nice when you're watching TV or something, so you're just like doing the same thing over and over again. So that part of it's nice. But yeah, I would say I actually might even just do like a 2.5 out of 5 as far as market prep friendly. Like a 50%, you know, I don't know. But my opinion as a whole, I'm obsessed. I love this pattern. It's so cute. I like the effect of the bobble stitches, but I will say that it doesn't necessarily give armadillo to me. This gives hedgehog. So I have a feeling that when this is sitting out on my table, people are going to be like, oh my gosh, is that a hedgehog? Because it really does look like, I mean, obviously the ears and the shape of even the shape of the face, I feel like is hedgehog-esque. The ears really are not, and I know they don't have long tails, so I have a feeling I will be explaining that this is an armadillo to people at markets, which is fine. So I do think it gives it a really nice effect, but it does give hedgehog to me. But like I said, the pattern was super easy to follow. I've just been sitting here watching YouTube making this, so again, I might be able to get it lower just because I am watching something else. But overall, I would give this a 4 out of 5 stars, I think, because I think it came out really cute. It came out a really good size for the level of effort that was put into this. The pattern was really, really well written. Obviously a really cute result. So cute. I just have to put his little nose on. I did use some safety eyes from Christine. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see because of all the lights. But they're like a really nice dark blue. This was from one of her first ever safety eye collection drops. Based off of a specific group of book characters. I like him, and I like that it stands on its own. I do think that this one will do well. I think as long as people get that it's an armadillo and not a hedgehog. I feel like you could just like leave the tail off, and this would make a really cute hedgehog too if you wanted a big hedgehog. And maybe just like modified the ears. Really cute. Anyways, let's revisit our previous patterns. Here's the first one. I will be so completely honest with you. I think I'm gonna frog this. Which is like so heartbreaking, but I just don't love it. I will be so honest with you. I don't love it. I don't know. If somebody else has made this pattern in the past and wants to argue with me that it's their favorite pattern, please by all means argue with me. But I used Elise Voluto. This took a lot of yarn. And the fact that I don't love it and I just don't think it's gonna do very well, I think if I had made this with the stripes, I would like it a little bit more. So I might add that back to my list in the future, but for now, I think I might just frog this. I don't know. And then we have Little Baby Willow. This is the Snuggler pattern. I really like the Snuggler pattern. I'm a Snuggler girly. I know not everybody is. I love making a Snuggler, and I just think, look at the little feet. Like, look at how cute the little feet are. Ugh, I love it. And I really like the ridges on this. I just think it's a really neat effect. Again, I need to use a different yarn. This is so stiff. It just doesn't feel great, but I do love it. Look how freaking adorable that is. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Are you joking? And again, I think my favorite part, there's two. I love the ears and the technique for the ears. I just love that fold. And then I love this ridge right here. I think I want to make another one with the spaced out ridges just to have like a different style, and in a different yarn as we have discussed. And then you just saw, last but not least, the Armadillo family. So stinking cute. So these are the 3 armadillos that we made as part of this A to Z challenge. So let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. Also, I think I already know what I'm going to choose for the letter B, but feel free to drop suggestions for the letter B in the comments below, and I might pick yours if it's better than what I'm thinking. So, I hope this is fun. I feel like there's a lot of people doing the A to Z challenge and they're just kind of like making one for each letter. And I really just wanted to try something a little bit different and put my own spin on it and maybe find some new designers or some new patterns that are fun and exciting. I will be using patterns that I already own for some of this because your girl can't afford to buy 3 patterns per video. Unless these videos just like absolutely take off and go viral or something crazy and the earnings from the videos start paying for the patterns that I'm buying. Yeah, probably not gonna happen, but I've spent, let's see, $4 on the first one, almost $8 on the second one, and almost $5 on the third one. So what is that? $14, $18 just to film a video. So y'all are welcome, okay? You're welcome. Not to mention the time that went into all of these. Let's see, what did I do? 4 hours for the first one, 2 hours for the second, and just over 2 hours. So we're looking at 8 hours, 8.5 hours pretty much of work, plus $18 of my own doll hairs spent. It's fine. I like buying patterns. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I will link all 3 patterns and all 3 designers below. Even though I didn't love all 3 of these patterns, please show the designers some love and go give them some support because everybody deserves it. And I personally know how hard it is to write patterns, and I can only imagine. So, I will say that in conclusion, armadillos are probably not going to be something that I keep in my regular rotation unless they start flying off the shelves. They're just very time consuming. But I think they're going to make a nice addition to my table. So I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to comment below. Let me know which one was your favorite, and a suggestion for the letter B. It doesn't necessarily have to be an animal. It could be a fictional animal. It could be a fictional character. It could be, I don't know. Just anything that starts with the letter B, except like wearables. I don't want to do wearables, so don't suggest like bandanas or any of that. I don't want to do wearables. Plushies only. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!